Good morning, everyone. And this is video 25 of One Video a Day during this quarantine. And I have Tyler C., someone I love to follow. He does some really cool podcasts. I just started looking into his apparel stuff. He's doing some really cool stuff in North Idaho. So he agreed to chat with me this morning and tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing with your podcast.
Yeah, so Tyler C., originally from the great state of Kentucky, you know what I'm saying? God's country, we out here. But I moved to North Idaho because my wife is a native. She was born and raised here, graduated from Lake City. And then we met kind of in the Midwest. And I came back here one time and was like, what is happening? Like, this is the most beautiful place I've ever been in my life. And we were actually driving over the bridge going to Wolf Lodge. And I remember looking at the lake at that moment and being like, it's over. Like, I'm going to be here for the rest of my life. And so as we moved here, you start to hear the history of this place in regards to diversity or whatever that looks like. That was like the thing people kept talking about. And I'm a pretty spiritual person, and at that moment, I especially like going over that bridge, I felt like God like really brought it in my mind, like you are here to build bridges and to build up people, and that's what I've been feeling, and it kind of even continues on with my family's work back in Louisville, of just like building up the community around you and mentoring people and being mentored by the community, like the whole idea of it takes a village. And the community experiment is really just our part in that, providing a place where people can come on either sides of the bridge and get closer and get closer and get closer until you can actually have that conversation. But a lot of times to be on that bridge or even to like build that bridge, you got to go in the water on both sides and start to lay that foundation. And so a big piece of that has been like not necessarily going after like these like hard hitting like traditional media points. It's just like kind of trying to find places where we all find common ground, right? So like we had the superintendent on a couple of weeks ago, and everybody either has kids or knows somebody with kids or wants to support the kids in the community. And so a big piece of what we do is on the community experiment in general, we bring on people to share their stories because we believe that stories have a way of strengthening the community around us. So that's what the community experiment is. And we have like 36 other podcasts that surround the community, not 36, literally like 4. But all the podcasts, whether it's North Idaho Brown Dudes, whether it's the Dopio Gang podcast, I have a random podcast with my father-in-law called The Old Man in the Sea that we haven't really done a whole lot on, but it's each one of those things. It's about like building community and like sharing stories. Like my father-in-law has been here forever and he has so many stories. And so that's like old Idaho and new Idaho coming together and sharing stories for the community. Or like North Idaho Brown Dudes isn't just about like diversity in North Idaho. It's about the experience of, it's almost like our version of the, you know what I'm saying, VFW post where the guys who have been through war can go and they have stories that all of them share in common. And so it's like that safe place, but we're all sharing stories that are meant to like uplift the community. But that's what the community experiment is. Like, that's the experiment. Can you, like the experiment is like, share your story, be vulnerable, because there are other people who are going to learn from that. And are you willing to hop into the experiment? So that's the community experiment in, 3-4 minutes.
Yeah, I love it. And I didn't know you had the other podcast. I've been following you for a while. And then I saw, I was like, gosh, you're doing some really cool stuff. It's kind of funny because Tyler used to actually be neighbors. And
yeah.
Right? Down.
I was going to just bust out where you live, but I was like, nah, maybe I shouldn't.
It's so funny, and it was one of my favorite memories. Well, I barely even saw you guys, but I get a message through you on, you're like, hey, is everything okay over there? I was like, yeah. You're like, the cops are at your house. And I was like,
oh, yeah.
Oh, that's my mom.
I was worried. I was like, yo, hold up. Like, listen, I don't know you that well, but I'll come right through. Like, What's going on? I need to keep
I
an
like
eye
this
on the
guy.
back. Oh man, you gotta listen. For all the fellas out there, you gotta look out for the sisters. Listen, period. Coeur d'Alene sisters, believing whatever it is, like y'all sisters, we gotta look out for y'all for real.
Exactly. That's why I told my mom, I was like, I knew I liked this guy. Like he's neighborhood watch out here.
Hey, it's back alley neighborhood watch. Got to.
I love it. So tell me a little bit about your passions. I mean, I know you're doing the podcast, but you have this really cool apparel, and your coffee game is like really high. I know how we met was through a coffee shop, and then I saw you do
Yeah.
latte art stuff, and there's just so much cool things. Tell me a little about your passions and all these other side hustles.
Yeah, always with the side hustles. So the apparel was one of those things that came from, shout out to Denorth, you know what I'm saying? We out here, Denorth.com. The apparel was one of those things that was just like, I am a 6'2" large black man who doesn't like slim fit clothes. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not out here crossfitting every day. I'm not like you. I've been seeing you at the gym. Be sprinting up the street and stuff. You say you posted your workout and your meal plan. I'm not that guy. Listen, my quarantine pantry got popcorn and seaweed snacks in there with some gummy snacks. But I also understand you gotta stay healthy. We got fruits and vegetables. It's balance. In the same way, I felt that there needs to be a balance in apparel as well. And so we just wanna put out, as the industry would say, we want to put out pieces that just are comfy. You know what I mean? Like, and we've been doing that since, like, we had the community experiment has apparel. Doppio Gang has apparel, which is the coffee, which we'll talk about in just a second. But even with the North, there's a lot of super, super dope companies out here, like Coeur d'Alene Clothing Company, the homie Andy, like he's doing his thing. And I've learned so much from that dude, but we wanted to do something a little bit different, something that speaks a little bit more to, not necessarily like street culture, but like, you know, as the world would say, the culture. And so the North is just our way of like saying to those kids who don't really feel like represented that, hey, there's a company out here that is thinking about you. For those big dudes out there who are, you know, they're not really trying to put on a 2X extra slim that's really like a extra large. Like, some dudes want to be out here and be proud of how they look. And a lot of times that means like wearing a bigger hoodie. It also just like, it's just very comfortable. Like, a lot of our clothes people will wear as like, they'll go out in them, but they'll also wear them around the house all the time just because they're like super comfy. And so we started the North for that reason. And it's the same thing with like coffee, the coffee blog, Doppio Gang. It was really just we want to provide an opportunity where people can just chill, and where two different sides of the coffee world, like the traditional coffee consumer and the coffee professionals, can come and meet on that bridge, and people can learn why they're paying, $3.50 for a cup of coffee opposed to $1.50, and what that does behind the scenes for the families in Africa or the families in South America who otherwise, if they weren't charging or weren't getting paid fair prices for these crops, like their other choice is to grow drugs. You know what I'm saying? It's not in every situation, but in some situations, that's the reality. Like, I'm either going to be able to sell this coffee at an appropriate price for our living conditions, or I can go over here where they're going to pay me double to do something that is not necessarily beneficial to the world. At Doppio Gang, we really wanted to get to the point where like we could tell that story to the community, you know what I mean? And help people understand, like, this is why you pay so much for a cup of coffee. This is, and even just the reality of walking into a coffee shop and understanding, like, this is what a macchiato is. Like, so we'll do like a YouTube video on like, what is a macchiato? What is a cappuccino? What is a cortado? That way, when people like walk in and see the sign, they're not sitting there feeling a little weird. If you, and it kind of like, it's like the same thing as like North Idaho brown dudes, right? If you listen to a conversation about brown dudes in North Idaho, it kind of gives you the ability to like then feel a little bit more comfortable, at least asking a question that maybe you wouldn't have asked if you didn't have an opportunity to do a little research. In the same way, Doppio Gang, what we want it to be is a situation where people can start to learn about coffee so they don't feel as weird jumping in and asking like what they feel like is a dumb question at a coffee shop, which is funny because most baristas love to talk about that and are like super open to say, hey man, now this is what it is. It's all good. Ask your questions. But that's what all it is.
Yeah.
It all comes back around to community.
Yes, I love it. I love the latte art stuff you guys were doing for a while at like Evans Brothers and stuff. That stuff,
Yeah.
I love that. So that's awesome. And so if people want to get a hold of you, what's the best way? Is it just your social media?
Yeah, I would say the best kind of like the catch all is communityexperiment.com. You can find out about all of our shows there. We have a daily morning show called Uncle Tyler in the Morning. I am the self-proclaimed best uncle in the world, and so a lot of times I go by Uncle Tyler. And so you can find out all about all of those shows. And I mean, because we're constantly coming up with different ideas. We're thinking about doing some stuff in music for a little bit, like to try to support the musical industry in Coeur d'Alene and in North Idaho, kind of even Spokane. And you can find it like all of that stuff. Check us out, communityexperiment.com. We're on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter at Community Experiment. We're on there. We have like all the profiles you can find from the Community Experiment. But communityexperiment.com is the main place.
Cool. And then my last question is, how can our community support you, especially right now? How can we support you?
Listen, how can I support y'all? What you talking about? Nah, I mean, just like checking out the content. If it's something that you enjoy, make sure to check it out. Make sure to share it. I always say, like, specifically with like North Idaho brown dudes, if you know somebody of color in the community who has expressed the feeling of feeling like not necessarily excluded, but like not represented in some way, just get them in touch with us, or even just like share the show with them. But sharing stuff is the biggest piece. Like, I feel like there has to be representation in all different facets of life. Yeah, that's it. Share the content and subscribe. Hit the like button. Smash the like button, as Jacob Maxwell used to say back in the day. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to the young homie Jacob Maxwell. He's out here in these streets. Do your thing, young king. Do your thing.
I love it. I love it. Well, do you have anything else to add for us?
No, just go out there and love on people, ladies and gentlemen. That's it, man. Stay safe out here in these coronavirus streets. Y'all love on people, man, for real. If you know somebody out here who's struggling, listen, take that what's it called, stimulus check and buy somebody some groceries. You know what I mean? It don't all got to go in retirement if everything is kosher out there in the streets. But love on people. That's the biggest thing. Got to love on people.
Thank you so much.
Nah, thank you. Keep doing your thing.